Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Can't Wait. Sounds terrible. That's Lenny. That's Patrick. That's Rachel. I'm Dennis. We are so pleased to bring you all the news that's fit to chat. And as sportscaster Ernie Johnson is apt to say, we are unsullied by sponsors. But we're talking to you, Diet Coke. Anyway, let's get going. Or Advil could also be a good sponsor. So it sounds like in our deep blue state here of Chicago, which is also a city, by the way, and Illinois is a state, but being a Northern Illinois person, I just always thought they were a city state. We're lousy. We're even more lousy with Democrats today than usual because Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson and the Chicago 2028 host committee are hosting Democrats from the Democratic National Committee around the city. And they're bringing their technical advisory group. They're going to tour the United Center again, even though they were just there a couple of years ago. They're going to get a logistics briefing and tour. They're going to supposedly get, according to Shia Kapos and Playbook, the red carpet treatment. They're going to go for the 360 Chicago observation deck, get an early inside look at the Obama Presidential Center. So that's new since the last time they were here. And they're having a reception with some big shooters. So they were just here, but they're getting their recollection refreshed. And I'm wondering what's left off the tour. Like, what should we suggest while the Dems are in town that they also see while they're here? I mean, a no-brainer, Eleni, is Dino's Pizza.
Obviously. And there are some Democratic ties to Dino's Pizza as well. So I would say it would be they have a great banquet space, very Northwest side. But my question is, isn't this like the Olympics? Like, can they bring it back again here? That's what I'm trying to understand. And like, is there a tiered process? Like, well, you just had it, so you're lower on the list. But yeah, I mean, if I had to pick, pizza it is.
It seems like we are leapfrogging some other communities. I mean, Cleveland might be saying, why not us? Right, Rachel?
I mean, maybe. I do think if they're looking to do some like experience-based things they want to show them, the 360, the Obama Library, they're forgetting, Chicago's most famous escape room, Lower Wacker Drive. I think you take them down there, you leave them there and see how long it takes them to get out and just really give them the true experience. Yeah.
So it's sort of like turn it into a game of Survivor.
A little bit, yeah.
I think that would only be if the Trump administration hijacked the tour. Somehow they would wind up on Lower Wacker.
More accurate, yeah.
I also think we're leaving out, though, they shouldn't discriminate against the rest of Illinois. And I know that there's ample space to host events. There have even been talks of hosting events at Wally's. They also have a great Hampton Inn adjacent. So, I mean, just, sky's the limit.
Eleni, don't forget, all those legislators who had to flee their states to prevent redistricting. Remember, they were out in DuPage County. I mean, maybe we should do a tour, the Saving Democracy tour of where all these pioneers stayed because redistricting was bad before everyone was redistricting. We could it's like a walking tour of living history across Illinois. I think Eleni's onto something. Spread it around like the
bus tour.
Awesome.
Bus them everywhere.
Did you guys notice in the history that the Sun-Times unearthed for us, though, that Chicago dominated the Republican convention in the early 1900s? I believe it was 4 or 5 times, back to back to back to back, here in Chicago. So, we've
been on the cutting edge of so much. And so maybe that should be part of the agenda, or maybe it is part of the agenda. It hasn't been shared with us. So we can hope. I don't think Springfield is on their tour, and that's probably a good thing because Democrat lawmakers who control everything down there are definitely cranky and a little bit testy and not getting along. Rich Miller's Capital Facts has the headline, More Silos. And I'll just read a little bit of it. So there's some legislation to regulate artificial intelligence. And I don't know why they would want to do that. Producer Grace has been doing some research on how AI is killing it on the streets of Chicago and across the country. And she might share a couple of videos later when we get to some other topics. But anyway, they want to mitigate societal risks and force AI companies to report critical safety incidents. And so the Senate unveiled Senate Bill 315 and then Senate Bill 316, which would require companies to prevent suicidal ideation and require them to inform users of the suicide prevention hotline. Another bill would allow consumers to opt out of having their data used for algorithmic ads. So a whole package of bills. And it landed with a thud in the House, where State Representative Jennifer Gong Gershowitz, or as Rich calls her, JGG, they had hoped to have a conversation with the Senate before finalizing legislation, but only heard from them this afternoon. Quote, as the House AI Working Group chair, I am just now seeing the Senate AI package. And she goes on to say that she believes there's still enough time to sit down and share our work with our colleagues on a topic of universal concern. My door is always open. My phone is always on. I'm willing to work with my Senate colleagues anytime. However, they haven't been on the same schedule, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the schedule create all sorts of problems, but I'm not convinced that this is actually a schedule-driven issue, right? Like, this is the exact kind of issue where you would see a legislator really dig in, and it's similar to what we've seen with regulating social media in recent years. It all kind of falls into that same bucket. I think it's really important to a lot of women, especially in the suburbs, that some of these tools are being, proper safeguards are being looked at to protect kids from very, very real issues. But this is the exact kind of issue that you would find easily a member in each chamber that wants to do it. I guess my question procedurally here is like, okay, maybe she wishes they'd reached out to her. But as the chair of the House Working Group, did she ever reach out to them and say, hey, we're working on something. How can we collaborate? I'm not sure. It doesn't ring a little hollow if she hasn't also been reaching out to them proactively. Them expecting to wait and hear from her first is just kind of not how the process works,
Look at Rachel
So
defending
Lenny, we were just talking.
chamber. She's such an alum. She just loves the upper chamber so much. She's like, you call me. That's how it works.
Yeah, Rachel, of course you love the upper chamber.
Hey, I love them both
Now,
equally.
Lenny,
children.
we were just talking about the fact that this being mid-May, it's the time where everybody is at each other's throats in Springfield, even if they are all one big happy Democratic family.
I would not call them ever a happy Democratic family. I don't think anybody in Springfield is happy. I think this is, we're getting to the part of session where this is par for the course. Everybody's got their agenda. There's a lot of horse trading going on. We know that the budget process has begun. And so now we're going to see lots of craziness happen. And, I had to pep talk myself this morning to say, hey, this is how it's going to be. Take a breath, have a cigarette, and be cool.
Cleansing deep breaths, not nicotine tinged deep breaths.
Take a deep
if you
breath,
will.
inhale the nicotine, and just let it out.
They're also hitting the point in session where a lot of these legislators are looking toward November and they're like, what headlines do I need to get myself across the finish line that I haven't created yet? And so if that headline is introducing a package to demonstrate you're working on an issue that you know is going to matter to your constituents, whether or not it's going to move forward, then hey, you're still the person that's fighting for better AI regulation. So that's another thing that they're doing at this point.
Just 2, 3, 4 more subject matter hearings. That's all we need. Just a few more subject matter hearings. We'll get to the bottom. 2, 3, 4.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Well, Patrick, for want of AI regulations, the delivery robots are doing great. The University of Pennsylvania came out with a study that said that there still needs some work on the delivery robots. They include improving complex internal sensors and addressing the simple optical illusion that makes clean glass harder to see than a dirty surface. Here in the great city of Chicago, I'm not sure that that's the problem. This morning, driving on North Avenue, I saw a delivery robot box just stuck up against a light pole. Who put that light pole there? The city council in Chicago will not has to renew the delivery robots before next May. So we have another year of comical social media posts and or annoyance and cold stuff whenever it gets delivered. I don't understand how this works. Do you guys have the delivery robots in Naperville, Patrick?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think our compactness, being 35 square miles, lends itself to delivery robots.
You don't want to see delivery robots just trucking down Route 59?
You know, downtown Naperville is already complicated enough to maneuver with the award-winning Riverwalk and all of those prized families walking around and students about. You know, I don't think we need to add the complexity of delivery robots. But I did want to, this is maybe one of these opportunities, according to the study, it said the items were too clean. So once again, the narrative around Chicago that it's dirty and it's obviously too clean. When you drive around, you're just witnessing a city that's too clean. And if we just allowed it to get a little dirtier, then the delivery robots wouldn't smash the glass, apparently.
I mean, I have questions about how bad is the delivery robot's vision that it thinks those bus stops are clean. Because I drive around and see them every day, and I've never seen a bus stop that I thought was clean enough that there wasn't some smudge a delivery robot could maybe see.
Rachel, the science just said it was obviously it was too clean. It was, you know.
There have been a number of collisions, but the proponents of the delivery robots say that every trip a delivery robot makes is one less trip a car has to make. I guess until you get fed up waiting for your Grubhub and have to go out to get delicious fast food by yourself. So there is a whole 311 category in Chicago for delivery robots now, so that people can have their feedback on the delivery robots. So we should maybe feature some comments on that in future episodes of Sounds Terrible. It seems like that's going to be great material for us.
Well, who does the class action lawyer represent when the delivery robot gets hit by a Waymo? Like who are Lerner going to represent in that situation? And is it Grace who didn't get her delivery? I mean, I'm just producer Grace. Like, would you hire Lerner and Rowe for your missing dinner?
That's really a probably not the first thing that most people think of, but your weasel brain went there, and
Always.
It is probably a novel area of the law, Patrick. We got some good news for some great journalists. So we all know Lynn Sweet, longtime Chicago news maven, Chicago Sun-Times for a long time, Washington bureau chief for a long time, back in the Chicagoland area, working on some projects, still a news shark. And she was honored last week by the Chicago Headline Club, the Peter Lisagor Awards, with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And her quote was, "We are among friends, not enemies of the First Amendment," which got a big round of applause. She's covered everything. And also honored was WBEZ's sports reporter Cheryl Ray Stout and CBS 2's Jim Williams. They all got Lifetime Achievement Awards. But this gave me pause because admittedly, I was a 22-year-old reporter in Chicago, but I worked with all of them, like staked out stories with them for hours at a time. I know things about Lynn and Cheryl and Jim that no one should know. And they're getting Lifetime Achievement Awards. And I just don't know what that means about me, other than I'm only 39.
Assuming your AARP card's coming in the mail soon.
Return to sender. Anyway, congratulations to Jim and Cheryl and Lynn. They're really superb. They don't make them like those folks anymore. And I'm glad they're still out there fighting the good fight and adding to their trophy shelf.
And I would say, have you even worked in politics in Illinois if Lynn Sweet hasn't chased you out of a room at any given point in time? So I agree. Kudos to all three. Well deserved.
Yeah, Lynn moves so fast, she'll start to call you and text you and leave voicemails with questions. Then she'll have the question answered by the time you have the opportunity to get back to her. So she never stops. But congratulations to her. So that's the good news. But now it's time for things that sound terrible. Producer Grace. All right, who wants to go first? There's a lot of terribleness out there.
I can go first in reference to the fact that you are a young, hip newsman. And it is that, Dennis, WKRP is broadcasting in Cincinnati again. A trio of news stations acquired through donating to a nonprofit on the Eastern Coast, a nonprofit news station. And they are able to use the call sign WKRP in Cincinnati, trio of talk stations. So WKRP is up and active once again. And upon hearing this, Richard Sanders provided a statement to the Associated Press saying, quote, "I think we can all hope that WKRP will return to the airwaves with more music and less Nessman."
Oh, no. Les Nesmith, for those of you who aren't as old as Patrick and I guess me, was the news director of WKRP. Go on the YouTube or someplace where they have classic 1970s sitcoms. Most famously, the episode around Thanksgiving, where they had a live turkey giveaway, and they were throwing them from the helicopter. And as the general manager said, "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." Rachel, terrible.
Mine is a little bit of a piggyback on last week, because unfortunately I think our history of bringing things up and then things getting worse seems to be continuing. So mine is that I brought up gas prices last week, and now they're like 50 cents more than they were last week. So I'm not going to talk about it any further in hopes of keeping them there. But I do want to apologize to our listeners if they've had to fill up their tank in the last week, and it was my fault. It was more.
Rachel, you ushered in the new policy of eliminating the gas tax. You are, in fact, doing the work of the people. There will be no gas tax in like 15 states by the next week.
That's it. That's
I think that's the only way that prices are going down. And even then, they won't be going down very much. Eleni, no. Terribleness.
Yeah, I'm going to go with cruising, hantavirus. That's for a separate podcast if we want to talk conspiracies. But I mean, this week alone, I'm happy to say I've cruised recently. I knew it wasn't for me, and God will I never do that again. And even just let's eliminate hantavirus drama. We also, in the same week, had another cruise with like 100 people sick with norovirus. I mean, I would say for anybody who's looking to go on a cruise, now is probably the time. I'm guessing you can probably cruise for free at the rate that the cruise industry's getting hit right now. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with cruising. Cruising /
Yeah.
Antivirus sounds pretty bad right about now.
Eleni,
It
I'm
is
just
hard.
so glad that when you went on your cruise, you canceled that bird watching trip at the dump.
Yeah, it was
Because this could
definitely
have been
on
a
our
very
agenda.
different podcast right now if that weren't
Yeah,
the case. So
yeah.
who knew that's where you go bird watching?
Never know.
I mean, what does it take for people to stop taking cruises?
Yeah, apparently nothing.
Stay at home and accept lifetime achievement awards. That's what I think you should do. So being trapped on a cruise teeming with hantavirus or norovirus or whatever the next virus is definitely terrible. But the Naperville Sun has some breaking news. Offering something a little closer to home, Patrick, being trapped in a car driving from Naperville to the city. So the Naperville Sun reports, and we have to preface this, of course, with our admiration for Mayor Worley, who does a great job. And we always preface that, even though Patrick does not preface anything nice about Mayor Johnson when he rips on the city of Chicago. But nevertheless, Mayor Worley does a great job. But his hometown news bureau is reporting that Naperville is known for many things, many of which we've heard here on this show. It's the best city to live in America, best city to buy a house, best city to raise a family, best city to be a guy named Patrick. But living in Illinois' third largest city comes with its trade-offs, according to The Sun, citing a new study from the mental health care provider A Mission for Michael. In a survey of 3,000 people, the organization found that Naperville had one of the worst burnout belts in the country, referring to commutes from suburban areas to major U.S. cities that regularly contribute to chronic stress, exhaustion, and burnout for workers. Naperville's in the top 10 across the nation for these burnout belts. It's the only Illinois-based city to crack the top 10 list. And the report says, quote, a significant portion of the day is already spoken for before the office even comes into view. The commute from Naperville into Chicago reshapes everything around it. Mornings surrendered early, evenings arriving halfway spent. What's left for personal time feels borrowed rather than earned. And a study released by Smart Asset earlier this year found that Naperville had one of the highest rates of remote workers in the country, with about 26% of residents working remotely. Now, we don't see Patrick in the big city very much. He used to come down every doggone day, more days in the Chicago office than I was, and I lived downtown at the time. But then he got married, and then he got 2 cats, and then he got 2 kids, and we don't see Scar all that often, and that could be terrible or it could be awesome. We'll let the viewer be the judge. Any rebuttal, Patrick?
I could not agree more. Just last week, I went to visit you all, and it was wonderful. And then I said to myself, stop by the office and check out a few things. And I tried to use the app to pre-buy my parking space, and it was closed. The online opportunity was closed. And I thought, that's weird. Then I went into the parking garage I know how to use, and there were Waymos self-testing to park in said parking garage, and I got stuck there for 20 minutes behind a Waymo's. But then the worst part was, I went to leave, and having been in our office, great setup, no one else was there, but I did see all the great swag behind you. Took care of a couple things, got back in the car, and on my expense report will be the $57 parking charge because I missed the window and I couldn't buy the parking pass online. So yes, I'm burned out from that one glorious trip.
Did you try to order a pizza?
Yeah, I should have bought a pizza. I was waiting for the Waymos to clear out of the way so I could park and go to work. All true. 100% true. I couldn't make that up if you tried.
Everything here is true and based on a true story, just like Law and Order. And it's always terrible. And if you're looking for terrible, you've come to the right place. And all of that was really terrible. I'm Dennis. That's Patrick. That's Eleni. That's Rachel. Producer Grace is producing. And we will see you next time.